Good morning and welcome to the Line of Judah Travels. This morning, the 24th of September, we're heading off for a Predator Park visit, and this is our start off. And welcome to the channel of Pat and Rex Attle, recording our travels through Africa, well, South Africa really. But this morning we've had some monkeys bothering us and they're rather busy. But we're on our way. We're heading towards the Predator Park. So here we are, we're getting closer to the Predator Park now. There's the early morning sunrise. The road's a bit rough, but not too bad. Getting towards the gate here, I think. Morning. A little kiosk here. One of our friends. He sees a lot of food arriving. He sees dinner arriving. Ooh, what a lovely male. Hello, mommy. Two females, they're hungry. One is lazy. Other one's looking for something to nyam-nyams. And Daddy's getting agitated, yeah.
Oh, this one's not
He's
happy.
looking agitated.
He's not happy.
He's not it, yeah.
The two females seem to be placid in
Yeah. Oh, he's a nice male though.
Beautiful, huh?
Seems pretty, very good condition.
Couple of safety tips and rules. So first things first, ladies and gentlemen, yes, we are feeding our animals this morning, all right? But where you are standing, you are still seen as prey, all right? Prey is safer in numbers, so please stay with the group at all times, all right? Parents, please keep a close eye on the little ones as well. Understand they can get excited, but we do not want them running around, all right? So please keep them attached to your hips for their safety, all right? You also see in front of you, there is a crowd barrier. I ask that you just please stay behind the crowd barrier at all times. This just gives a little bit of distance between you and the fence, all right? Yes, we have proper fencing, but paws and claws can sometimes still come through the fence. And if one of our animals grabs you and gets a hold of you, I will not be able to help, all right? You'll also see on the inside of this enclosure there is an electric fence. On some of the enclosures, the electric fence is also on the outside, all right? We are running 5,000 to 9,000 volts through our electric fences. Please watch out for that. It is quite a shocking experience, all right? Ask any of the rangers, it's not fun at all, all right? And then no matter how large, how small the animal might be or how fluffy they might look, please do not try and pet any of our animals. Your hand will go in, but it will not come back out, all right? So please do not attempt to do that. Regarding pictures, you're more than welcome to take as many pictures as you would like. We just ask that you refrain from trying to take a selfie, all right? By taking a selfie, you are starting to turn your back towards a predator, and now you're making yourself look even more like food, all right? Then also where you're walking, there's a little bit up and down, there's a little bit of loose gravel, so please just watch your step while walking through the predator park, all right? Now, ladies and gentlemen, regarding lions and everything, as you can see, our 3 brown lions here in front of you, I'll quickly just introduce them. We've got our big male over there, his name is Tyson. We've got our larger female over here, her name is Sosa, aka Duck and Onkaskuk, alright? She is large and she does have a strong personality. And then our other female, her name is Blanco, alright? So regarding the Predator Park and everything and what we actually do here, we are a sanctuary. The Bushwood Predator Park is just a sanctuary for these animals. We are not a breeding facility whatsoever. Quite a few of our animals here and everything have actually been sterilized. Alright. So when it also comes to them, unfortunately, a lot of the animals that you'll meet this morning have what we call the human imprint, which means that they were raised by humans from a very young age, and they see humans as their first source of food, if I can say that, alright? So what that means is if I had to try and take these 3 lions and go put them out onto Mabalingwe, they wouldn't necessarily go out and hunt something like a wildebeest or an impala. They would walk into the caravan park, they'd walk between the houses, they'll try and jump on your vehicle, alright, in search of food, because they know humans mean food. And if they find you at your lodge and you don't have an extra chop on the braai for them that night, alright, you become the choppy, alright. So that unfortunately makes them somewhat dangerous animals at the end of the day. With some of the smaller cats that you also see this morning, that unfortunately being raised by humans affects their natural behavior. So they struggle to communicate with members of their own species, making survival in the wild very difficult. Alright. And now also going back to lions and everything, lions in South Africa, a lot of people have heard a lot of different things regarding breeding of lions, things such as canned hunting or the bone trade. And yes, unfortunately that was still a big thing and it is still going on. We are starting to try and, how can I say, push back a little bit. It is starting to get a little bit better. But the problem, ladies and gentlemen, was the conditions that these animals were kept in. Alright? In some of these breeding properties that breed animals for economic gain, in a small camp next to me, in the small camp that is next to me, you can find up to 15 lions. Alright? That is the only place that they get to see. Here at the Predator Park, we work on a 2 to 3 camp basis. They've got their small camp here, slightly larger camp over that side, and behind me is their big 1.7 hectare enclosure. Alright? The reason why we work on these different camps with sliding gates is we still have to go inside, clean the water, pick up the bones, and it's not fun if you're just trying to do your work and you think Tyson's going to give you a hug from behind. Alright, so that is just the only reason why we do it the way we do it. Alright, but other places, unfortunately, these animals do not have that option. They are literally just stuck in these small camps. Another big thing, ladies and gentlemen, if you look at our beautiful females, their gestation period is 110 days. It takes them 110 days to develop their cubs and give birth. Throughout their lifetime, they'll give birth normally 3 to 4 times. Some breeding properties will force a female lioness to give birth up to 3 times a year. Alright? They do this by taking her cubs away from her when her cubs are only 2 days old. She automatically thinks they unfortunately have passed away and she'll go back into heat. They'll keep pushing a female to produce as many cubs as possible until her body cannot longer do it. Those cubs are normally sold off and everything to either make money, or unfortunately those cubs are not raised on the proper milk replacer, so those cubs tend to have a lot of deformities when they're actually adults. Alright, and once that female can no longer produce cubs, they either sell her off or they'll literally just kill her because she is no longer a use to them. Alright, and unfortunately all this type of breeding was seen as extremely unethical. A lot of people disagreed with it. The problem was it was technically not illegal, so nothing really could be done about it. People couldn't be prosecuted for doing those types of things with these animals. Luckily, groups such as SAPA, which is South African Parrots Association, we do a lot of work with them and everything. They are pushing back at government to put stricter regulations in place, and it does seem like it's going in the right direction. So hopefully there'll be a new bill that comes out and everything with proper regulations and ethical breeding when it comes to these animals. The people doing the wrong things with these animals can finally be prosecuted and get out of the industry. Then the people breeding, farmers and everything, breeding lions in nice large camps for conservation purposes can continue doing what they are doing properly, all right? Because there are breeding facilities out there that breed lions in very large camps in order to release them back into the wild, all right? And we still need those breeding properties. The reason being is we only have 3,800 free roaming lions throughout our country, all right, which is actually not a lot. Some of them unfortunately are infected with feline AIDS or TB, and because populations are secluded to certain areas, there are signs of inbreeding taking place in our wild lions. All right, so we need to be able to breed lions and everything in an ethical, safe, and humane way. That hopefully we can release those nice, good, healthy genes back into the wild, so we do not lose our lions one day. All right, but the big problem, ladies and gentlemen, and that's what conservation is about, is trying to save our animals as much as possible. Because also remember, ladies and gentlemen, each animal plays a massive role in the ecosystem. If the lions die out, even in the Kruger, it's now a massive predator that has now unfortunately died out, and that will massively affect the ecosystem and will most likely lead to that ecosystem collapsing. That game reserve will then, how can I say, completely collapse. Thousands and thousands of people will start losing their jobs if this happens, as well as because game reserves unfortunately have closed down, our tourism will take a massive hit. All right, tourism brings about 3.6 billion rand into our country. If we lose any of our animals and everything, we could lose that in our economy. And if anyone knows, the South African economy cannot take a hit like that. All right, so when a lot of people think we try to work with these animals, we obviously want to help these animals. But another big thing is, remember, these animals work for us on a daily basis as well. All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, does anyone have any questions about anything I've said so far? Is everyone fine? All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, well, from here, what's going to happen is we'll open up the gate here. They are going to run through. We will make our way up that side, and we'll get these big guys fed, all right, before they try to eat me. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're more than welcome to make your way up that way towards the great containers. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I said and mentioned everything, our big male over there, his name is Tyson. He's about 9 years old. All right. The two females, Blinkworth and Sister, they're about 8 years old. And this is normally the age that you would consider a lion to be in their prime. All right. A lion's lifespan, you're looking at close to around about 13 to 14 years in the wild. Sometimes in captivity, they can be pushing about 16 years, right? Because conditions in captivity can be a little bit easier on the body. It's not as harmful. They don't have to hunt. They constantly get food, all right? But normally between the ages of around about 7 up until about 10 years old, we consider a lion in their prime, all right? This is also normally when male lions will fight one another in order to take over prides, all right? Because it's the biggest and the strongest that they are normally throughout their lifetime, right? And that is actually where the mane of a lion comes into play, all right? A lot of people love the look of a mane on a male lion, but a lot of people don't actually understand that there is actually a purpose. It's not just to make him look pretty, right? Well, it does. The females like it quite a lot. It makes him look quite attractive to the females. But the other big thing that also helps is when a male lion fights another male to take over a pride, that bunch of hair around his throat and neck area actually protect it, right? Remember, for your lions and everything, how they kill their animals or they prey is they tackle it and they bite it around the throat, right? This hair and everything prevents another male from biting a male lion around the throat and actually killing him, all right? So that is the big purpose of the mane of a lion, right? But that is also where or it plays a big role as to why a lot of people also think that your male lion is lazy. Because a lot of people will tell you that the females do all of the hunting when it comes to a pride of lions. And yes, that is very, very true. A lot of the females do. But the problem is, the thing is, your females can camouflage a lot better. Alright, if you look at our female lions here, they're a little bit smaller, got that light brown color and everything. They can camouflage a lot better when it comes to hunting in the long grass. Where if you look at Tyson over there, that big black mane of his gives him away. Their prey and everything spots him a lot easier. So the females are a lot more successful hunters. But the male lion will still help out when it comes to big things such as buffalo, or possibly even something like a giraffe, because he is a little bit larger, he is a little bit stronger. Alright, in comparison in weight and everything, your male lions can be weighing up to about 250 kilograms, where your females and everything are averaging up to about 180. Alright, Sosa over there, she's pushing 200. Okay, she is a large female, that is true. But yes, majority of the times the males are a little bit larger and a little bit stronger at the end of the day. Alright, now ladies and gentlemen, also regarding our feeding, a lot of people do ask us about that. Yes, we do feed on a Wednesday and a Sunday. Alright, they are getting large portions of beef this morning. And normally on Fridays is what we do snack days. It's normally when our animals get chickens. Alright, so yes, they live on an airplane that's beef or chicken majority of the time, unfortunately. But all of our meat is donated to us from local properties in the area and everything, cattle farms, chicken breeders and all that. All those carcasses and everything they tend to donate to us. Alright, but to give you an idea, we go through close to about 4 tons of meat here at the Predator Park in a month. Alright, so yes, these cats are very hungry cats at the end of the day. Alright, you might also see there's a little bit of a white powder on the meat. That white powder is predator powder. It's extra vitamins, minerals, nutrition. It's pretty much the same as you taking a multivitamin in the morning. Alright, it just ensures that our animals stay as healthy as possible. Alright, that's why Tyson looks the way he does. I promise none of us go in there and condition and brush his mane. Alright, he's just very healthy and a very beautiful boy at the end of the day. Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, does anyone have any questions regarding our lions? Anything that anyone wanted to know? Everyone good? Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, if you're all good from here, we're just going to be going around the corner. I see Gabby, our serval, is waiting for her breakfast over there.
We do have our serval. Her name is Gabby. She's currently 7 years old. So when it comes to Gabby, she was saved from some Goma's hut while her mother was already cooked for Muti. So it was saved by anti-poachers, and since then she was here by us. So just quickly, you can see Patrick can actually go into the enclosure. So the reason for this is because she was a kitten while we raised her. So she's quite familiar with people going in. So you can also see Patrick is placing, well, not yet, but he will throw meat to her just to keep the hunting activity still active. And also he will place the meat in trees and also on the tree stumps, just for her to search for the meat. So just quickly, please don't look at the fence while I'm mentioning this, but when it comes to your servals, they can actually jump 3.6 meters high. So that's quite the distance. You will also mainly find her at night, but they are day and night animals. And we also have servals free roaming on Mabalingwe. So if you see one, this is the same family. So just another thing I want to mention is quickly have a look at the body of Gabby. So Gabby is also, she has 2 names. So it's your giraffe cat and then also your cat with spare parts, due to the long legs and also the body size. The reason why they can jump this high is because you can see the back legs is basically has compact springs. So that's why they can jump that height and also the distance. And also if you do have a family member that owns a farm, or even yourself, especially crop farms, there's a lot of birds going for your seeds. So if you have a serval on your farm, this is your best friend. They will also go for low-flying birds. That's the reason why you don't want to kill this animal if you spot it on the farm. Keep it as your best friend as long as possible. But yeah, is there any questions from your side? Nothing. Okay, if there's no questions, you're more than welcome to take photos and videos. Otherwise, you can just move down to the African wild dogs.
Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, in front of you you'll have our 2 African wild dogs. Alright, if you want, there's a little more space down on the left there at Amira. So yes, on the left hand side at the bottom by Matthew, that is our female, her name's Amira. And the big male in front of you, that is Pavarotti. Alright, so if there's anyone that's here that's massively into music, you might know that Amira and Pavarotti are the same names as 2 famous opera singers. Alright, and that is how these 2 dogs actually got their names. Right, because of the squeaking and chirping sounds that you can hear Pavarotti making there, it sounds like he is singing. Alright, but how they actually came to the Predator Park, ladies and gentlemen, is someone thought this was a fancy German Shepherd, alright, and tried to keep it as a pet in their house. Obviously, this does not really work very well when it comes to wildlife, especially when it comes to your wild dogs. They have a very strong scent gland which they'll use in the wild to mark their territory. It's the same gland that they normally rub on the ground, on the trees and everything, but if it's in your house, they'll start to rub it on your carpets, your couches and your curtains, alright? And there's a very pungent, very urinated type smell, and it is not very easy to get out, right? And they're a lot more active than when it comes to what some of your normal dogs are, right? So unfortunately, they became too much for these people to take care of, and they gave them up, and we took them in here at the Predator Park, right? You might also see that Amira and Pavarotti have actually been separated into 2 different camps. A lot of people know that your wild dogs are very social animals and they make very big packs. The reason why they have been separated and everything is unfortunately Pavarotti has been seen to be a little bit aggressive towards Amira, especially if she goes into heat, as well as trying to steal her food. Alright, we did have an incident unfortunately where we had to bring out the vets to tend to their wounds because they fought so badly. Right, so since then, just for their own safety and everything, we have kept them separated, but they still communicate with one another through the fence. Alright, they're as happy as they can be. Alright, now ladies and gentlemen, when you're also looking at your African wild dogs, you're looking at one of your most successful hunters in the African bush, right? Up to about a 75% success rate with any hunt that they do. Compare that to a lion. Lions are looking at about 30% success rate, alright? So they're a lot more successful when it comes to hunting than what your lions are. The reason being is, once again, they work in that pack, alright? They've got strong individuals and everything in the pack that do a lot of the hunting, and also they've got high endurance. So this pack and everything can keep chase on an animal for up to about 5 kilometers, alright? Normally by kilometer 3, that impala is completely exhausted, alright? So yes, got high endurance and very, very good hunters, right? But unfortunately, your wild dogs also have a nickname as your devil dogs. The reason being is they're one of the very few animals that eat their prey while their prey is still alive, right? Other animals tackle their prey, bite it around the throat, kill it, and then start eating. Your wild dogs do not do that. They'll bite chunks of meat out of the hindquarters and the stomach while this animal is still running, alright? Once it goes completely down, they go straight to eating, right? The reason why they do this is to try and consume a carcass as quick as possible, right? 5 wild dogs can completely eat an impala carcass down to the bone in 5 minutes, right? The reason why they do this is because they can hunt up to 80 kilometers away from their den, away from their home. And now they are in lion territory, hyena territory, how can I say, leopard areas, and this is all competition. So they try to consume their food as quick as possible to get out of the area and everything and get back to the den, right? You might also see that they actually somewhat swallow their food whole. These chunks that we cut for them, they swallow it whole. That is also to consume as quick as possible. And also when they get back to the den, there are dogs and everything that can't join on the hunt, such as the pups, possibly the older dogs, some of the sick dogs. So what happens is those massive chunks, these hunting party dogs, will actually regurgitate that food, all right, in order to give food to the rest of the pack, all right? So they're very, very brutal hunters, but they take care of one another brilliantly, all right? They're very, very good pack members, very, very good dogs at taking care of one another, all right? And yes, every coat color on your African wild dog is actually unique to the individual, right? It looks very similar to one another, but there will be small differences that will make them unique, right? Then what's also quite cool about your wild dogs is you'll see that they have these little white tips at the end of their tails, right? They use the white tip at the end of the tail for a form called flagging, right? The white and everything stands out in the bush so pack members can see each other while they are hunting to coordinate attacks. And also once one of the dogs does pull down the impala, they stick out their tail and they flick it all about as flagging to say, hey, I've got the food, dinner has been served. Alright, that's why they've actually got that white tip at the end of their tail. Unfortunately, wild dogs are still endangered, and that is mostly due to disease outbreaks. Alright, a lot of these game reserves and everything unfortunately have a lot of these informal settlements around the areas, and some of these places have a lot of these rabid dogs that walk around the areas with canine distemper and rabies. And these normal dogs unfortunately get into the game reserve. These wild dogs could possibly then find this dog, kill it, and then that rabies and canine distemper is then transferred over to the wild dog. Once one wild dog gets sick, normally everyone in the pack will get sick if it's a contagious disease, all right, because they're very close-knit with one another. And rabies can wipe out a pack of 15 wild dogs within 6 months, all right? So disease outbreak is a very big threat, unfortunately, to these dogs at the end of the day. All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, does anyone have any questions on our painted puppies? No questions. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, if we don't have any questions from here, what's going to happen is we'll make our way down back to the right, down the hill, and you'll spot our white tigers on the right-hand side.
They went swimming. They made trees in it.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, in front of you, you'll have our two white Bengal tigers. All right, our talkative female there in the front, that is Mazuri, and then at the back there being obviously the strong silent type, our male, that is Matiki. All right, so these are two white Bengal tigers. Yes, Bengal tigers, also known as common Indian tigers. All right, now for their backstory, how they actually got to the Predator Park, ladies and gentlemen, is they were actually, someone was trying to sell them on Facebook Marketplace. All right, that is completely possible in South Africa. The reason being is tigers are not a natural animal of South Africa. They are not even supposed to be on the continent of Africa. All right, so our government do not feel that there is a need to protect them. So there are no regulations regarding tigers in South Africa whatsoever. So you can go on social media, or if you have a friend or you know someone, you can buy a tiger or adopt a tiger like you adopt any other cat and keep it in your house without any type of paperwork. All right, and no one can do anything about it. If the NSPCA rock up to your house, as long as that animal looks healthy, you can keep it. All right, but please do not do this. I'm not incentivizing you to do it, because when that tiger is 1 year old and your couch disappears, I'm going to get a call to come pick up another tiger. All right, so please do not do that. But that is unfortunately the reality. There are a lot of people in South Africa that have tigers in their backyards. All right, it's actually a scary fact. But that is unfortunately the thing when it comes to them. Now, regarding the white coloration that you see on our tigers here, that does not actually make them albino. A lot of people think these are albino tigers or they snow tigers, but they are not. Like I said, they are common Indian tigers known as Bengal tigers, and I do not remember there being a lot of snow in India. The coloration comes from a genetic mutation referred to as leucism. All right, leucism just changes the orange pigmentation to a white color. That is why you can still see the black stripes. All right, if they were albinos, they'd be completely snow white in coloration. All right, but leucism unfortunately just changes the white color, and a lot of people specifically breed for that coloration in South Africa because they can get a higher price for the white tigers than what they can a normal orange tiger. All right, but yes, so ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to quickly feed them. If you want any last pictures, I recommend that you grab them now, because the tigers like to grab their meat and run to the back. And there she goes. All right. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, so this coloration, this leucism, is a recessive genetic mutation that happens. It can happen in wild Bengal tigers. It is definitely possible. It is just very rare. Because a lot of the times when that white cub unfortunately leaves its mom and then runs away. So a lot of the times once these white cubs unfortunately leave their mom, they do not survive a year afterwards, unfortunately. All right. So it does make it very difficult. It is a very rare gene and everything in the wild. But unfortunately, a lot of people specifically breed with them for this. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, does anyone have any questions regarding our white tigers? I do have orange tigers still coming up. No questions. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't have any further questions, they might come down for their other pieces of meat just now. But for the time being, I think we can go just behind us to our spotted hyenas. Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, here we have our spotted hyenas. Alright, the largest one that you'll see that's also very dark in coloration, that is our female Cheeky. The slightly larger one, also light in coloration, that will be Brolox. The other light one, that is their firstborn, that is Surprise. Alright, yes, as the name suggests, is Surprise. And you might see this very, very small one there running around as well. That one there is also Surprise. Alright, so yes, we unfortunately ran out of names. So if anyone has the name suggestions for us, we would definitely appreciate it. But yes, as the name suggests, both of them were actually a surprise. So Brolox and Cheeky and everything came to the Predator Park. Brolox actually first got here first. He was born into a camp, but unfortunately sometimes hyenas are not necessarily always the best parents. And unfortunately, Brolox's parents tried to kill him. So the people that had him took him out of the enclosure and everything, and then he was brought here. Right? Cheeky, on the other hand, she comes from another predator park. The reason why we brought Cheeky here and everything is actually to keep Brolox company. Alright? Your spotted hyenas are social animals, so it's not great if you just keep one by itself. It's not, because they are actually social animals. But obviously, Cheeky gave Brolox a little bit too much company. Alright, and that's when we got Surprise. Alright, and then Surprise also came along. So these are our 4 spotted hyenas. Alright. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you're also looking at your hyenas over here. A lot of people do also look at the fence. You do not have to worry about the fence when it comes to them, because if you look at your hyenas, they've got these slanted backs. Alright, that slanted back and everything allows for a very large chest cavity and everything, which gives them very big lungs. So they're very high endurance runners. They can run very, very far, but unfortunately that hinders their back legs. Alright, so they cannot jump. So yeah, they cannot jump very high whatsoever, so the fence is definitely fine. You do not have to worry about that. Alright, now ladies and gentlemen, when you're also looking at your hyenas, like I mentioned, Cheeky over there is the largest one. She's also very dark in coloration. Alright, the reason for that is your hyenas are actually a matriarchy. Alright, so they are led by the females, not the males. Alright, so the female hyenas tend to be larger in body size, darker in coloration and everything, and this actually comes from a female hyena having about 3 times the amount of testosterone than what your males do. Alright, they are bigger and darker in order to intimidate the male hyenas. Alright, there's also a lot of misconception when it comes to them. A lot of people say a hyena can choose their gender at birth, or they are hermaphrodites, but that is actually not false. They are male or female. The confusion comes in is because your females mimic the reproductive organs of that of the male. Alright, but this is once again to be bigger and better in every aspect compared to the males in order to dominate over there. Alright, and if the alpha female, the matriarch and everything actually gives birth, her oldest daughter will then be the next matriarch to take over once she passes. Alright, so yes, they are run by your females. The males have absolutely no say whatsoever. Alright, you also see that in our hyena enclosure there is a nice swimming pool. Alright, that is not just for them to cool off on a hot day, but they actually use that as a refrigerator. Alright, so all of the meat that they do not consume in one sitting, like maybe they might be full and there's meat left over, they will drag that meat into the water. The water will help to prevent the meat from going off too quickly, as well as it takes away the sense of smell of that meat. Alright, Hyenas do it in the wild as well. This is to protect their carcasses from being stolen by other predators. And they'll remember where their carcass is. If they're hungry in the next few days, they'll go back, they'll drag their carcass out of the water, and they'll once again have a meal. All right? But because these hyenas here and everything get a regular meal basis and everything, they still do it, but unfortunately they tend to forget about the meat there. So that becomes like a rotten meat soup after about a week that has to be cleaned. All right? So if there's any volunteers here, please let me know. It's not very fun cleaning that dam at the end of the day. All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, also most people have unfortunately a misconception when it comes to our hyenas that they're scavengers, that they're evil, they just steal all the meat. But that is actually false. Hyenas hunt 70% of the food that they actually eat. All right, they only scavenge about 30% of the time. They're all very, very successful hunters at the end of the day as well. All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, does anyone have any questions regarding our spotted hyenas? I see Missouri, our white female tiger, has now once again made an appearance. Yeah, if anyone wants to quickly grab a picture of her, you're more than welcome to. All right. Does anyone have any questions regarding our hyenas? Guys, or you? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so currently in front of you we do have our bat-eared foxes. So you can also use the name tags just to identify them. So quickly on the left is Foxtrot and Funkel, and then Coriander is on its own on the right side. So the reason why they are split is because there's 2 males and 1 female. So just imagine the drama. So these 3 bat-eared foxes, they actually came from Centurion. It was a lady that kept them as pets, and also the lady had them on a very high sugar diet, so she fed them mostly fruits and muesli. So when they came to us, we actually had them on a more strict diet, so it's more dog pellets, carrots, and then also a piece of chicken. They are more insectivores, so they mainly feed on insects such as spiders, cockroaches, and also small insects. So you can just have a look at their big ears. So they use these ears to detect where they are, especially if it's underground. So they can listen 35 centimeters underground. So the moment they hear something that's crawling, then they will start digging and then they will feed. So apparently we do have 2 of them free roaming on Mabalingwe. I haven't seen them myself, but yeah, I think it would be a cool sighting to have. But yeah, these 3 will basically stay here because they were since baby in a house. So yeah, and just quickly, please do not, I know they are very cute, but please don't keep the wild animals as pets, because in the end of the day we need to sit with this animals in enclosures, and you're basically taking up their life and they can't live normally. But yeah, is there any questions from your side? Nothing. Okay, if there's no questions, you're more than welcome to take more pictures and videos. Otherwise, you can just move back, down to the other tigers.
You guys came to drop off the room. Because he didn't come down on Sunday either. He didn't see him this morning. Yesterday? No, he said he didn't. Oh, you sure he's calling the They haven't been able to find him for a few days. So they asked whether, are we sure he's still in the camp?
Alright, so yes, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately tigers can be a little bit shy and everything, but in this camp we do have a male and a female Bengal tiger, alright, but they are the normal orange Bengal tigers. Our female, her name is Isabella, And then our male, his name is Max. I don't know, maybe if the food goes over and everything, they might hear it and come running down, but we'll have to see about that one. All right. Regarding Isabella and everything, how she actually, I'm just going to quickly go through her backstory. Isabella, we refer to as our movie star because she was actually used in a movie when she was a cub. All right. The movie was called Back to Fergie 2. Once the people were done filming the movie with her, using her in the movie, they didn't know what to do with the tiger. All right, so they pretty much just gave her up, and then she came here. So if she does make an appearance and you want an autograph, you can just quickly put your hand through the fence. All right, it's going to last you a lifetime. Max, on the other hand, he comes from a tiger breeding farm and everything. So yes, unfortunately, a lot of people do breed when it comes to tigers in South Africa due to the lack of regulations. People do breed them and everything in order to make a profit, right? So that is unfortunately where Max came from, right? Like I said, sometimes they can be shy. There she comes down. Because she was coming down. There she is. Alright, so yes, that is our female. Her name is Isabella. Alright, so now that you can see her a little bit better, ladies and gentlemen, something I do want to mention is just focus on the little white dots behind their ears. Alright, those white dots behind their ears is referred to as false eyes. It actually protects a tiger from being killed by other tigers. Why? Because tigers hate to see the eyes of their prey. Alright, they hunt their prey only from the back. So having these makeshift eyes at the back of their head protects the tiger from being attacked from the back by other tigers. Alright, and that is actually a safety tip that I can give you. If you ever encounter a tiger in the wild, just stare at that cat, okay? Maintain eye contact in their eyes and everything and back away slowly. Do not turn and run, alright? If you start the staring competition with them, your chances are about 50% chance of survival, alright? If you turn and run, it goes down to 0, alright? So please do not do that. Another big thing that you also see with all of our tigers is, yes, they do have a swimming pool, alright? All of our tigers enclosures do have a nice big swimming pool because tigers are amazing swimmers, alright? I think we're just going to toss it over. She might grab her meat and unfortunately disappear, so I recommend that you grab your pictures now. Oh, there she might go. Max might come down now. I'm not sure if we throw over the rest of the meat. Something I do also want to mention when it comes to the water, when it comes to tigers, ladies and gentlemen, yes, tigers are one of your very few cats that actually like water, all right? You'll know that your cat at home does not really like water, but tigers love it. They've actually got semi-webbed paws, so they've got like almost like duck fins between their toes. That helps them actually swim better. But tigers will also urinate and defecate in that water, right? Because tigers are such solitary animals, solitary mean like they're shy, they want to be by themselves. Any scent or smell like urine and feces that can give away their location, they hide it in the water, right? And yes, they can survive in temperatures of minus 20 degrees Celsius all the way up to 50 degrees Celsius. So even in the middle of winter when it's 0 degrees here at the Predator Park, Isabella will still be hip deep in the water with a couple of bubbles coming up there from behind, just doing her business. All right. Once again, not a very great pool to clean once a month. All right. It's not very gross. So yes, once again, if there's any volunteers that want to play around in a pool in the middle of summer, you're more than welcome to come help. It's just not going to be fun. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I do have one Siberian tigers as well coming up. But does anyone have any questions regarding tigers so far? No questions. Alright, like I mentioned, sometimes with our tigers and everything, they can be shy, the groups and everything, they're not always very fond of it. So Max will most likely come down once everyone moves off and come grab his piece of meat. Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, from here what's going to happen is we'll go back the way that we came. You can see Danica is waving her hand over there. We're going to go past the hyenas, turn to the right and down to our cheetahs.
Alright, so I'm going to start some off. So everyone, welcome to our cheetah camp. There we go, you'll see 2 of the boys are coming. So look, that we have 3 cheetahs in this camp. You'll see Max, Duma and Moya. So if Moya does want to show, you'll see she has a little bit of a limp. So I'm going to clear the air quickly before she comes. Oh, there she is. You'll see as she's walking, it looks like she's walking on this little elbow here. So what actually happened, so she was caught in a snare on a farm up in Limpopo. So for those of you who don't know what a snare is a wire that poachers will take and they form it in a circle and they'll tie it like around a tree, and as soon as an animal goes through it, it tightens and tightens and tightens. And unfortunately that did damage her tendons and the bone. We did get vets out to see if they can fix it. They did have it in like a little stint for a while, but that ended up hurting her more. So we did take it off, and she has adapted to walking like this now. And I do believe if any of you have a sprained ankle or a broken ankle, you won't be walking around like that, hey? So she is in no pain whatsoever. And then for the two boys, Max and Duma, so quite a funny story. Those of you who are familiar with our wildlife sector, you will know a few years ago the black impalas were quite high in value. And these two boys were actually caught on a breeding farm where they were eating the farmer's main breeding black impala ram. So that's quite a story. And then obviously it is illegal to shoot cheetahs in South Africa, so they did bring them here, and now they are company for Moya. So you will notice that we take the chains and put it around that paw and feed the meat with it. So there are basically two reasons for doing that. The one is cheetahs don't have excellent sense of smell. That's why you won't find cheetahs scavenging. They need to find fresh meat. So if we're just going to throw the meat over, they might find it only a few days later. And the other reason is to monitor Moya. So if we just throw it over, they will take the meat and run like the tigers do. Just disappear, and then we won't be able to monitor her to see if she is still fine. Alright. And then so far, just interesting, this is your fastest land animal. They can actually reach speeds of up to 120 kilometers per hour, but only for a minute. So they can take it, but not for too long. So for those of you who are driving on the highway at the legal speed at 120 kilometers per hour, that cheetah will be able to run next to you. Just think about that. That's quite cool. And then your cheetahs are actually considered to be half cat and half dog. So just to explain that a little bit, you'll see, I'm not sure if you can see where their paws are. You'll see their claws are not retractable completely. They can only retract halfway. So that is also to help them at those high speeds so that they can have traction if they need to turn suddenly. And that also helps them to climb trees. What about these guys? Oh, does anybody have any questions about our cheetahs and what they do here? Nothing. Alright, if you're done taking your pictures and videos, you are more than welcome. You'll see this little pathway leading up here to the side to our next tiger enclosure. Mia.
Ah. Dad, look at the tiger's name.
The barrels. Look at the barrels.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, in front of you, you'll see our Siberian tigers. All right. So these are a different subspecies from the tigers that we've seen so far. Our big male at the back here, his name is Jethro. And then we've got our beautiful female in the front there. Her name is Ella. All right. So starting off with Jethro, how he got to the Predator Park is he comes from the same place as Isabella, our Bengal tiger from the movie. They were both used in the movie, so they both are movie stars. It's just when they started to get older, we could see Jethro is more of a Siberian tiger, where Isabella is a Bengal tiger. So two different subspecies. So we thought it would be better that they actually get separated, as they're not actually technically the same tiger. All right. If you're looking at Ella in front here as well, Ella has a very similar backstory to Max, also from a tiger breeding farm in the northwest. All right. Yes, like I mentioned, a lot of people do breed tigers, but the breeding farm that she came from was actually mainly breeding tigers for a hunting purpose. All right. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, due to the lack of regulations on tigers, South Africa is actually the tiger hunting mecca of the world. All right. We are not even supposed to have tigers in our country, but we hunt the most tigers out of any country in the world. All right. Due to this lack of regulations. All right. Luckily, Ella was taken from the people and everything and brought here before a hunter could get to her. All right. So now, ladies and gentlemen, when you're also looking at your Siberian tigers, you are looking at the largest naturally occurring cats in the world. All right. You do not find a cat in the wild bigger than a Siberian tiger. Just to give you a bit of a reference, male lions are weighing about 250 kilograms. Male Siberian tigers can be weighing 350 kilograms. All right. The biggest male Siberian tiger that died in the wild was weighing 423 kilograms, almost half a ton for a cat. All right. Another big difference in everything is your lions consist of about 40% muscle mass throughout their body, where your tigers consist of about 60% muscle mass. All right. So if I had to take Jethro over there and put him in a boxing ring against Tyson, Jethro would win that fight 100% of the time. All right. And that is one of the biggest reasons as to why we cannot really take tigers and go drop them into our nature reserves. If I had to take, let's say, 800 tigers and go drop them in the middle of the Kruger, they are very territorial and they can be very aggressive. And because there are other predators, they will try to get rid of those predators. All right. Like the lions, the leopards, hyenas. And because of their size and brute strength, they will most likely be successful, pushing our naturally occurring predators out of the area or possibly killing them. All right. So unfortunately, it is very difficult when it comes to tigers in South Africa, and why we cannot actually release them and put them part of our natural predators, because they are technically an alien species actually as well. All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, some people also struggle to see the difference between a Bengal tiger and a Siberian tiger. It can be very difficult, all right? But some features that you can look for is, especially with Jethro over there, you'll see he has a lot of white hair above his eye, all right? He has these two white patches above his eyes, where it's not so prominent when it comes to your Bengal tigers. Another big thing is if you look at Ella as well, you might see her a little bit better. You can see the stripes on her back legs going down into her tail and everything on her rear end are actually quite close together, all right? Compared to there around the neck and everything in her front legs, doesn't look like she has a lot of stripes there. Where if you look at a Bengal tiger, you'll see your Bengal tigers, their stripes are like even throughout their body. All the way from the front legs to the back legs, there are even spaces throughout their stripes. Where your Siberians, they have a bit more of a concentration of stripes towards their back legs. All right, those are some small differences that you can look for. All right, but yes, a Bengal tiger, Siberian tiger, South China tiger, they can all crossbreed. So subspecies of tigers can crossbreed, and that is why in South Africa we have a term referred to as a common brown tiger. All right. Yes, I know they are orange. I'm not colorblind, all right? It's just the term that we've given tigers because so many people are breeding with these animals and crossbreeding with them. We cannot physically tell what subspecies of tiger that is, all right? As long as it's a tiger and that person can get a hunter to come hunt that tiger and make a profit, a lot of these people do not care, all right? Another cool thing about your tigers is they mostly go after the meat on the bone. They're not really after the bone itself. They'll crunch a little bit of cartilage and everything that you can hear Jethro is doing now. But lions and everything will chew on bones. Hyenas completely crush bones and swallow it. Tigers, not so much. They're a little bit finicky. They prefer the meat. They'll bite the meat off of the bone, and the meat that is left, they will lick off with their tongues. All right? Their tongue is equivalent to about 60 grit sandpaper. All right? Get that and rub it on your skin. That is how rough a tiger's tongue is. If I had to put my hand through the fence here and Jethro licks me 3 times on my arm, I will start bleeding because there will be no more skin left. That is how can I say, rough their tongues are. What's also quite cool is they've got antimicrobial and antibacterial properties in their saliva. That literally means their saliva acts as Dettol or Savlon. If you get a cut or a graze on your leg, you'd use Dettol or Savlon to clean it. If they fight, or it does happen, they will fight every now and then, and they get a bit of a cut, they literally just lick their wound clean and it perfectly heals by itself. All right. That is also regarding the bones. You can see here on the front of the enclosure, those are bones taken out of this enclosure. There are no like proper teeth marks biting into that bone. They only pretty much want the meat. All right. And just for a little bit of a reference, yes, Jethro over there, if he stands on his back legs and reaches out his front paws, he can almost pretty much touch this top bar, ladies and gentlemen. So his body length is pretty much the length of the fence, just to give you an idea. All right. And you get people that want to go in here and give him a hug. If he had to stand like that in front of you, I'm pretty sure you'd die of a heart attack before he even touched you. All right. And just the one last quick fact. Did you know that a tiger can jump 4 meters high? Please do not look at the fence when I say that number. All right. You will be fine. All right. None of our animals have tried to escape. As I mentioned to some people earlier, if today's the lucky day, I don't know, trip someone and keep running for your life. I don't know what to tell you, in all honesty. All right. But yes, everyone will be fine. They are happy. They are fed. You will be fine. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is our last tiger enclosure. Does anyone have any questions on any of our tigers? Anything at all? All right. Like I said, I do not incentivize you to get a tiger. Please do not go out and buy a tiger and keep it in your backyard. It's a bad idea. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, from here we'll be moving to my right-hand side. Up that way, you can see up on the right on the hill are the rangers. We're going to see if we can spot our leopards. All right. So, yes, ladies and gentlemen, this large camp here, somewhat on my right-hand side, we'll have our male leopard. He'll be in this camp. His name is Maba. And then on the left-hand side, you can see the female's head is popping up here. Her name is Ingwe. All right. As the name might suggest, Maba and Ingwe, Mabalingwe. All right. So, Maba means spots and Ingwe means leopard. So, the name of our game reserve, Mabalingwe, actually means spots of the leopard. Alright, so how these two leopards actually got to the Predator Park is they came from another Predator Park sanctuary that unfortunately closed down. Alright, it does unfortunately happen when it comes to these these sanctuaries and everything. They're often non-profit and non-government organizations. So unfortunately, if they run out of funding, they have to close down. And they couldn't take care of these two leopards, so then they came to us. Alright, there you can see nicely our big male mother. He is extremely beautiful. There you can see what nicely a big male leopard looks like. Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you also take a little bit of a note on Maba over there, he's got this very, very dark coloration, all right? Even the brown areas of his body are quite dark. He's got the complete jet black rosettes and everything. So that is the coloration of what you are looking at as for somewhat of a typical Kruger National Park leopard, all right? Very large in body size, very dark in coloration. That dark coloration actually helps with, how can I say, better camouflage. Compared to what you'll see just now with our female, she's a little bit smaller, a little bit light in color. That lighter color actually camouflages a little bit better in the Waterberg area, right? It's something what we refer to as microevolution. Depending on the genes of a certain area and everything, will actually depend on the coloration of those leopards for better camouflage and more successful hunting. Alright, so yes, ladies and gentlemen, you can move to my left hand side over here, see if you can spot. There's our female Ingwe. Now, also another cool thing, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not sure if you quickly saw, but when it comes to the spots on the leopard as well, they're actually not called spots. The proper name is referred to as rosettes, alright? And why we call it rosettes is you see on our female over here, it's actually black in a circle with brown in the middle. It represents the shape of a rose, alright? That is why we refer to it as rosettes. And this size and everything and the shape of the rosettes can also differ from area to area, alright? Now, ladies and gentlemen, also when it comes to their body size, compared to their body size, your leopards are one of your strongest cats, alright? Even for a small female weighing around about 60 kilograms, she will be able to pick up a carcass of 120 kilograms up into a tree. They can pick up almost close to about 3 times their own body weight up into a vertical tree. There was a video that came out a while ago of a big male leopard in the Kruger carrying up a black rhino calf up into a tree. Alright, so yes, they are extremely, extremely strong animals. And Mabalingwe does have free roaming leopards. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so there are free roaming leopards here, very, very rare to see. We estimate between about 8 maybe to 10 leopards. So if tonight and everything at 1 o'clock in the morning you wake up and you cannot sleep, please do not take a nightly stroll. You might not make it back to your chalet. Alright, there are big cats free roaming on this game reserve as well. Alright, now ladies and gentlemen, does anyone have any questions regarding our leopards? No questions? So the reason why Maba and Ingwe are actually separated is because your leopards and everything are actually also solitary animals, all right? So having a male and female close together for too long of an extended period of time, the male can get aggressive. And he actually ended up hurting Ingwe quite badly, so then we had to separate them just for Ingwe's safety. Yes, that's why they're separated. All right. So, no further questions, ladies and gentlemen. We'll meet you up there at our... Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, we are going to just walk with Rocky, our male lion, all the way down the line. Then everyone can get a nice good look at him, get some pictures. And then if you want better pictures and everything, we'll feed Rocky here in the middle. And we feed the females normally there on the left. Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, just to introduce our three white lions here, our big male over there, his name is Rocky, and then we've got our two females, Matika and Leah. Alright, so these are our three white lions. It is also somewhat what we refer to as our retirement village that you're looking at now. Reason being, these are the oldest individuals that we have. Like I mentioned, lions in the wild are living about 12, 13 years. Captivity, they could be pushing 15, 16. Rocky over there, he is 14 years old, and the two females are 13 years old. Alright, so yes, they are decently old when it comes to lions. Normally, life expectancy and everything in captivity is extended with your animals due to us being able to constantly feed them. You know, they're constantly getting food, they don't have to hunt, they're not fighting with other lions. If they get sick or injured, we can get the vet in order to help them with any issues that they might have. Alright, that's why their life expectancy is a little bit increased. Seems like Rocky's just in a mood today and not even hungry, but yeah, unfortunately it does happen every now and then. But you also see that the way that we feed our lions, there is a certain reason to it, right? When it came to our brown lions with Tyson's meat on the chain, with Rocky that we feed in the middle, we do this in order to separate the male away from the females when feeding, alright? Because male lions have the tendency to steal meat for themselves and leave the females with nothing. By doing this, he is distracted by one piece of meat, and then we feed the females to the side so that they also get their pieces of meat. Alright. Now, ladies and gentlemen, how these three white lions also came to the Predator Park is we got a call quite a long time ago, it's also close to about 8 years ago, about two other hyenas that this guy owned and was trying to get rid of. And when we got to the property, we saw that he had these three white lions as well. Mentioned to us that he's also trying to get rid of them, and we were luckily able to make arrangements with a very good friend of the Predator Park that donated quite a bit of money to help us get started. We built their camp, went back to the guy and said we can take them in. Alright, so they have been here for close to about 8 years since the Predator Park moved here to the back and everything. So it's also, Rocky over there is also seen as our pride and joy of the Predator Park. He has quite a few nicknames. Some people call him Mr. V8 because he sounds like a V8 on a cold start. Other people say he sounds more like a Harley Davidson. Alright, so pick your poison. You can name it what you would like. Alright. But yes, when it comes to your white lions as well, they have the same genetic mutation as your white tigers. Alright. It is also not albinism, it is leucism. Leucism, or being leucistic, is a recessive genetic mutation that takes place that alters the pigmentation of their genes, making them this white color. Right? They do survive a little bit better in the wild compared to your white tigers though, because if a white female is born into a pride, she will stay with that pride for her life. Alright? Her brown sisters can hunt for her, she can get meat, she can get old, she can reproduce, she can pass that white gene on. Right? Unfortunately, the males are not so lucky. At about 3 years old, a male lion is normally kicked out of the pride he is born into. If he is a white male, he is going to struggle to camouflage. He's going to be very unsuccessful when it comes to hunting, and normally during his solitary period from 3 up until 6 years old, unfortunately, these white males do not normally make it through. Alright, so majority of the time, your white gene is passed on through the females in a pride. Unfortunately, a lot of people in South Africa also breeding with these animals resulted to selective breeding, mostly inbreeding with these animals. The reason why is because it is a genetic mutation. If I take two brown lions and I make it a brother and a sister, and I force them to mate, that inbreeding increases the chances of mutations taking place. Increases the chance of me getting a white lion that I can sell for a higher price. But this inbreeding unfortunately leads to a lot of health issues, alright? So there's kidney problems, back problems, all that type of stuff. And if you're looking at captivity at the moment, We've got close to around about 9,000 lions in captivity throughout South Africa that we know of. And close to around about 3,000 to 3,500 of those are actually white lions, all right? So a lot of people were breeding them at a point in time. The exact same as when the black impala first came on the market, your white place stock, all that type of stuff. As soon as it was a new thing, everyone pushed to breed them, and now we are overflowing with them. All right, so it is unfortunately a thing that happens in your wildlife industry. All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, this is our last enclosure. Unfortunately, do not have anything else to show you. If you do want to know, the tiger on your left-hand side, his name is Trompi. Please do not go too close to him. He's very shy. He's very new to the Predator Park. He's not very fond of the groups. All right, so, but that's why he's disappearing. But his name is Trompi. He's the newest resident of the Predator Park. All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I do just want to say thank you to every single one of you for being here, for coming to the Predator Park, for supporting us. We really, really do appreciate it, and supporting Mabalingwe. If you guys want, you can look up Bushwood Predators on TikTok. There's a couple of funny videos and everything that we post there as well. So Bushwood Predators. If you have any other questions that you would like to ask, I will be standing here for a little bit for more personal questions. If not, ladies and gentlemen, you've got all your pictures. You can just follow the road down on the left and it will take you back to your vehicles. Thank you, everyone.
Ja, I thought we were going to see his meat.
It looks a little bit dry. Well, let's go. And Mommy, just go. Everyone is going without you. Just go out there.
So there we have, brings us to the end of our little trip here to the Predator Park. And I want to thank you for joining the Line of Judah Travels. Please remember to like and subscribe and promote our channel. And we're just going to have a look and see if we can see this fella in this enclosure, but it doesn't look like it. Doesn't want to be found, the newest member. There's a quick little squiz. Nope. But again, welcome, and we hope you enjoyed our little escapade today. God bless, and see you soon.